Hi. Thanks for joining. Can you hear me? Oh, yeah. So usually service has changed in time. So I'm trying to, I think it's better for me to start it a little later. So around this time is the new time that I could join, but just running errands and all that. Thank you for joining. Hope you're doing well Sunday, everyone. All right, we'll give it a few minutes till we have everyone joining. Uh, Let me know where everyone's watching from. I know, Katie, I keep forgetting. Is it Maine? Welcome, everyone. Happy Sunday. Have you decided on what color car? Lexus yet? Not legal. Thanks for joining, man. Southern California. Which part of Southern California are you from? C8 Caesar, thanks for joining again. SoCal. I went to UC Irvine, so I'm sure you all know where Irvine is. So Katie decided on the black Lexus near Malibu. Okay, so off the 101, 126. Okay, okay. We got Abel from H Town. We got Daniel from Ohio. That's great. All right, so I hope you all are having a great Sunday, and thanks for taking your time to join the fun. We have a lot to cover today. Let's just wait for another minute, and we'll begin at 28. It's 3:27 right now Pacific time. Okay, we're looking at crypto. This is looking very bullish right now. We have Bitcoin. It wants 119,000. Can it push to 119,000 during this live stream? Put it in the comments if you believe that that's going to happen. All right. Well, thank you all for joining. So Katie with her conviction on Game Square. So GAME is the play. Earnings coming up. So that's very bullish. I like that. I like that. Okay, okay. We'll be covering the ETH Treasury companies as well. I got some in game as well, so hopefully it just takes off. I don't have too much, but I have some in game. So, all right, guys. Well, happy Sunday. Thank you for joining. Put it in the comments where you're watching from. I'd love to just hear from all of you. Any comments, questions, ideas, put it in the chat. We'll cover through all the details. I got a lot of information I'd like to share with you all. And we will be going through technical analysis of several plays. And if you'd like for me to go through any, put it in the chat. So we're looking at Bitcoin 118,893, Solana at 183, Ethereum at 4,200. This is looking very bullish. All right, so let's continue. So Bitcoin is still trading within a massive buy zone despite having rallied this cycle already. The top is nowhere near. So just look at this rainbow chart. Every halving event, what happens? We usually have Bitcoin breakout. I mean, it gets into the yellow zone, it gets into the orange, it gets into the red zone. We had our halving event last year back in April. But look, we're in that consolidation phase. We just got out of that blue phase, barely peeking into the green phase. Yellow, orange, red, here we come, baby. Very bullish. Things are going to look very solid as we see Bitcoin start breaking out. Welcome, everyone. We just barely got started. So, questions, put it in the chat. We'll go through all of that. In the meantime, I'll be sharing with you some updates that I'd like to cover. All right, so Bitcoin next stop, third red circle. So, just based on this visual, it's looking like Q3, Q4 is the forecast of a breakout where we'll have Bitcoin hover up to this ascending channel, somewhere around that 200,000 sweet spot. Now, whether it's going to be around 140, 240,000, we don't know where it's going to land, given the fact that every Bitcoin halving event, Bitcoin usually has a monthly RSI of like 80 plus on multiple months. That hasn't even happened yet. Once that does, Bitcoin's going to have a nice peak run up. All right, so Kevin, Bitcoin nowhere near the top, weekly bearish divergence. We'll see. It's a matter of time. We will see how far it goes, but I really do think that Bitcoin, it hasn't even got monthly RSI of 80 plus yet. All right, so strategy today marks a 5-year anniversary. I mean, Saylor started buying Bitcoin about 5 years ago. Think about that. During COVID timeframe when there was like shutdowns. No one really knew that there was even a company that existed that was just slowly stacking sats. Saylor did that early on. I mean, he started game theory 5 years ago, but it's not until this year where more players got to the table to buy more Bitcoin. In fact, MetaPlanet caught on last year, so they've been buying since like over like 15 months now. So they're kind of ahead of the game. So kudos to Saylor and the team at Strategy for really just ramping up their Bitcoin hodl. They're focused on getting towards one Nakamoto, and that's 1 million Bitcoin. So just think about that. All right, Josh Mandel, give him a follow. I mean, he's the Bitcoin prophet. You know, he posted mascot fix. We got a bull wearing a strategy shirt. So happy birthday to strategy. Things are gonna look very bullish. I'm bullish on MSTR as well. I think that they've been just consolidating for such a long time where we're gonna have a nice, beautiful breakout coming in the rest of 2025. For all of you lovers, strategy, I mean, truly there's no second best, but their goal is to hold Bitcoin. Auto is the approach. Their goal is to, outperform Bitcoin. So when you think about investing into strategy, it's really like investing into like a MNAV 2x multiplier. Bitcoin goes to, 1x, MSTR will 2x, 3x. So their goal is to really innovate the fixed income securities through Strike, Stripe, Stride. Their goal is to promote global adoption of Bitcoin, which they've done that over the years. Welcome, everyone. We got Kevin Stone with the question. Steve Giles from Seattle. Thank you for joining, Steve. I really appreciate you all joining here. Hope you all are having a beautiful Sunday. We barely just got started, so any questions, put it in the chat. I will continue. All right, so let's just take a moment and just take a breather. Look at how many companies there are now at the table. Global game theory is real. This doesn't even factor in BlackRock. I mean, BlackRock, they got so much money. They can buy Bitcoin, they can buy Ethereum. They've been doing that. They're following the money. They know that money is to be made in the crypto space, and that's why these companies are popping up. But when you look at the difference, I mean, for company number 100, now you need at least over 30 Bitcoin to even be on the top 100 company. Before it was like all you need is like one Bitcoin, you can be on the top 100. But now things are changing. Everyone's aggressively buying Bitcoin. Eventually, Bitcoin's going to get more and more expensive. OTC is going to get more scarce with Bitcoin. Exchanges is going to run out of Bitcoin. Supply and demand kicks in. But look, MSTR has the biggest HODL, 628,000. That's just huge. All right, so Watch Your Guru posts this 5 years ago. Michael Saylor's strategy bought Bitcoin for the first time ever at a price of 11,000. I mean, that'd be great for us to buy at this price, 11,000. Today they hold 628,000 Bitcoin with a look at this. I can't even count this right now, but I think it's $28 billion of unrealized profit. Saylor is the king of Bitcoin. When you think about it. All right, so just looking at technicals of you know of Bitcoin right now, it wants 119,000. We continue to see Bitcoin slowly but surely climbing up. I think this looks very good. Um, just remain patient. It may be that we will get to 119,000 today. And can it get to 120,000? Let's say Bitcoin breaks to 120,000 before market opens tomorrow. We're going to have very bullish runs for the entire, market for stocks that are hedging, Bitcoin or Ethereum. So I'm very bullish, and I hope you are too. All right, so let's continue. All right, so I posted the big three HODL miners like CleanSpark, RIOT, Mara are going to start pushing up. The more hate there is, the bigger the squeeze. Big moves are coming with Bitcoin soon for a major gap up. So we've been hearing a lot about risk. There's competition. CleanSpark's going to have to pay, a big bill because of tariffs for importing, devices from, China. All of that is just to strike fear, uncertainty. But you know what? You can't talk Bitcoin without talking about miners, and you can't talk about miners without talking about Bitcoin. Why is that the case? Bitcoin is designed as proof of work concept. And in order to validate the Bitcoin network, you need miners to validate these transactions. And as a reward, you get, paid with the blocks in Bitcoin. And for those reasons, you need these miners to continue to expand its hash rate to be able to compensate for all of the transactions going around all around the world right now. So that's why I believe, yes, there is competition, but the companies that have the biggest HODL on the balance sheet, doesn't matter about cost. Eventually, Bitcoin price climbs up, that's where the hodls become very favorable. And that's why I believe the big three Bitcoin miners are really going to take off. We might see a vertical leap coming up very soon. So be on the lookout. Put it in the comments if you're invested in CleanSpark, Riot, Mara, or even the miners. All right, let's continue. All right, so my buddy Max from Munich, he posts about CleanSpark. People are understandably upset about the price performance of CleanSpark, but I believe so strongly in Bitcoin and it will soon hit 150, 200,000, 220,000, and maybe then correct to 140, 160,000. It doesn't matter. CleanSpark will be a money making machine. And I don't care about $22, $30. I expect $60, $120 long term. I see it, some see it, BlackRock see it. Have a great Sunday, everyone. CleanSpark. While everyone's complaining, what is BlackRock doing? They continue to stack CleanSpark. They continue to stack Bitcoin. They continue to stack Ethereum. Why are they doing that? They understand you can't talk Bitcoin without talking about miners. So gotta follow the money. I'm very bullish on CleanSpark. I actually, dollar cost average in the CleanSpark on Friday on that dip because once there's a dip, there's going to be a big time rip that I believe is going to be coming. All right, so let's just cover, the overall summary updates with CleanSpark. So last week, CleanSpark, they announced their earnings report. So they brought in close to about $200 million in 3 months. That's huge. They were able to, produced 2,000 Bitcoins with mining in 3 months. That's huge. Eventually, it's just going to climb up. They did sell Bitcoin as well to offset the operations, but this has been one of the most successful quarters according to CleanSpark. I mean, they continue to focus on ramping up their hash rate, with a very disciplined approach, following that blueprint to scale up their operations as a pure Bitcoin miner play. And that's allowed for, them to achieve an earnings per share of 90 cents. So they bypassed the estimated results. And now they grew their Bitcoin treasury to over $1 billion in value. So think about, let's say Bitcoin goes to 200,000, their market cap's going to grow significantly. But when you think about what they've done, achieving like a close to 6% of the global hash rate, along with having a 1 gigawatt of power contracted, I mean, they're like creating an oligopoly market right now next to Mara. I mean, these two companies, including Iron, which has a huge hash rate as well, they're wrapping up their production numbers and they're maintaining a HODL, which will be very favorable for CleanSpark and the other miners in the long run. But I think this is definitely a nice, achievable milestone. While all this news goes away, the technicals, I believe, are going to be very favorable, along with the big time driving factor of Bitcoin price going up close to 200 million in quarterly revenue, 50 exahash, 16 joules per terahash. You can't get any better than that. I mean, Iron, yes, has a little lower, but when you think about the hash rate and also getting to this, joules per terahash, you're like top line numbers right now. Total assets at $3.1 billion. With this HODL, 12,703, as Bitcoin price starts going up to like 200,000, oh man, CleanSpark is just going to grow in terms of its market cap. So, very bullish on that. All right. So let's continue. Of course, Steve, happy birthday to, happy birthday to Strategy. Definitely with 5 years of stacking sats, we're not bullish enough. Strategy is here to stay. Bitcoin is here to stay. Happy birthday to MSTR for stacking for the last 5 years. All right, so we just covered CleanSpark. So next up, let's continue. So Chris, I would highly recommend following Chris. Stomp Chris is his alias on X. Give him a follow. He's doing really good right now on X, putting out quality stuff. But he posts about RIOT. So he's saying RIOT back to 70 plus. Anyone? He's saying not probable, but possible. So probability of occurrence, it's not like a likely scenario, but you can't rule that out, right? Why is that the case? The last two Bitcoin halving events, we've seen the vertical leaps that RIOT has done, along with other miners like CleanSpark and Mara, specifically the big three miners. So he has it drawn out, to even maybe get to $70. So is it possible? Not probable, but it can happen. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. I think we should all be grateful that we're able to all connect. And I'm grateful that I get to connect with everyone here. So it's been a fun ride journey, that we all can join this journey together, learn, grow, and build one another up. That's the goal of this overall channel. So let's talk about RIOT. So they provided their earnings report as well. So earnings per share, they outperformed similar to CleanSpark as well. July numbers, 484, Bitcoin produced in the month of July. Their Bitcoin held 19,287. Yes, they did sell some Bitcoin as well. And that's really to offset operational expense, similar to what CleanSpark is doing. And I think that's good because that helps prevent diluting, shareholders and maintains the overall operations while they focus on, increasing their hash rate as well as, optimizing their development into expanding its focus into data centers, which Corsicana is the site where they will be full scale, expanding on that. But here's the unique thing: they're all in power cost, 2.8 cents per kilowatt. I mean, that's like top line numbers. I mean, anything below 3 cents is big, but when you think about summertime in Texas, it gets very hot. But if you can get 2.8 cents per kilowatt, that's just a steal. Along with them able to generate about $12 million in energy power credits for not, they actually can turn on and mine more Bitcoin in July, but they didn't because they realized that they can gain more money by just, turning off the mining rig to generate the energy and sell that back as credit. So that's been the lever that Riot has been playing. And as soon as summer goes away, they will just turn on their mining capacity, continue to mine, and not even worry about this. So they've really structured their strategy, especially during the hot seasons, to take advantage of energy and sell it back for credit. All right, so let's pivot over to Crypto Klepto's post. So give him a follow as well if you like Mara. He's a big time believer of Mara. Bo Hines, former executive director. So we heard about Bo Hines yesterday, how he's going to transition from the Trump team, the executive director role, as a crypto executive director of the White House. He's switching over to the public-private sector. And what's interesting is that Bo Hines not too long ago interviewed with Fred Thiel, just talking about the U.S. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and Bitcoin mining in America, along with the Genius Act bill. So, I mean, you could watch this, just going um, to Mara's page on X, but he's I mean, you could see this interview with Fred Thiel and Bo Hines, but let's just say even if Bo Hines works for Mara, I mean that would be significantly great. But that's like a 20% chance. But let's say if Bo Hines works in like a mining sector or even like a crypto company, that's very bullish for the entire ecosystem. So I think we're not bullish enough and we're still early in the game where there's just going to be significant potential in these miners. And when you think about it, Eric Trump, Trump Jr., I mean, they invested into Bitcoin mining. So once Wall Street lets the dogs run, these dogs are going to have big time squeezes up. I know, looking at the stock price, it's been frustrating. We'll go through the technical analysis, but overall, just remain patient because we're going to have that reversal come up very soon. All right, so Kush posts most names that have 10x potential aren't supposed to look like it before they make their move. Mara on the monthly, so we actually see like a inverse head and shoulders. It's funny because there is a visual that had, the inverse head and shoulders. Someone calls it the alpha cock. So you have, the two nut sacks are here and one big, cock in the middle. I'm sorry for my language, but that was the term that was used. But that's one way to look at it when you look at technicals as well. But Mara here, just based on the forecast, it could potentially go up to like 140 just based on this post. All right. So before we go into technicals, let me just look at the chat, see what everyone is posting. So Sean with the question about Mara. Yes, we'll cover that. So hang on tight for that. Alan, you got a question. So, all right. So let's continue. All right. So first technical analysis I want to go through is MSTR. So let's take a look at this relative strength for MSTR in July. It was like close to that overbought situation at $70. What has happened since it dropped all the way down to 36 oversold? We slightly see an uptick. I really think that MSTR is ready to break out. I mean, we see this U-shaped formation. Really, we're just seeing a cup and handle formation starting. But I really think that August, September, let's say Bitcoin price, it breaks to 130,000 in this month. I'm thinking MSDR, it's been primed for so long. It's going to shoot up to like 650 in August, September. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Um, so definitely, there's huge upside. So Katie, do you think retail will really come back to miners? Seems like everyone is into alts. So Katie, excellent question. That's what I've been, thinking. When Wall Street makes it to the point where everyone feels like there's no more luck in miners, there's no more money to be made in the miners, and once Wall Street dogs, the market makers, lets these miners squeeze, that's when everyone's going to be flocking in. So when you look at every like short squeeze with every miners, it usually goes down by like a huge amount, then it just shoots up. So I think it's just the way that Wall Street market makers are controlling that. But yes, I do believe that there's going to be a big inflow into the miners. Question is when? That's the that's the magic 8 ball question. I rather be in the market than time the market. We hear that a lot, but that's why just remain patient. Things are going to come, and right now is not the time. Of course, do your own research, but now is not the time to be selling. And dollar cost average on these dips. You'll win in the long run. Let's take a look at another stock right here. So, you know, I'm a big believer of MetaPlanet. I didn't get into MetaPlanet when it was like at $2 before this run up, but ever since it's been just pulling back. Look at this RSI. It hit oversold at 28. This is the time to load up. Whether you put a portion in, I think that we're gonna see. I wouldn't be surprised. We see a shoot up to like $24. This is extreme oversold situation. Bitcoin starts running, MetaPlanet is going to shoot up. It's been just, it's been consolidating since May timeframe. So that's a good amount of time already. And it's going to just squeeze up. So be on the lookout. Everyone's not talking about no one's talking about MetaPlanet lately, but we know what had happened back in May. This is a good amount of time to let it, consolidate, and especially with the technicals showing oversold, that's when the risk is lower. That's the time to take advantage of this oversold situation before that next leg up. So be on the lookout for MetaPlanet. Clean Spark. Let's talk about Clean Spark. So I actually dollar cost averaged into Clean Spark on Friday. It had a big pullback. I think it was all from the FUD news around, oh yeah, Clean Spark owes like, millions of dollars because they're buying from China. So they're gonna pay like big time tariffs and all that. But you know what? Don't let that scare you. That's just all FUD news. Once Bitcoin starts running up, we won't even be worried about all of that. Bitcoin at 118,979. Are we going to get to 119,000 during this live stream? It looks like we may very well get there. $8 more. Let's see. Yeah, this is looking very bullish. I think Bitcoin is trying to assert its dominance over Ethereum right now. Yes, we know Ethereum, the last 7 days, it's gone up 20%. And everyone who's invested in Bitcoin is like, hey, how come, Bitcoin is, consolidating and not performing like Ethereum? But just looking at, Bitcoin catching up, this looks very good. And let's say if, you're invested in Bitcoin and you see Ethereum going up, is now the time to be considering Ethereum treasury companies. We'll go through that as well. I think it's important for us to really look at it through the lens of the entire crypto ecosystem, right? Not just have one-sided look at, either Ethereum or Bitcoin. You got to look at it on the broad scale. Bitcoin was created first, right? Proof of, work. And then Ethereum came out about, I think, 2013 with the proof of stake concept. So I think these two go hand in hand together, the biggest market caps out there, right? So that's just one way to look at it. All right, there's some questions coming in, so let's take a look. But first off, Bitcoin 119,000. Yes, the mother coin has got to 119,000. We're not bullish enough. Things are going to look very good this upcoming week. We're going to see some nice potential upward movement. So let's see. All right. So Daniel, clean spark to $30 by year end. Oh, I wouldn't be surprised, man. My use case is we will go through clean spark technicals. I'll shift back over, but $30 by year end. Bitcoin goes to 200K. Think about it. These miners will have like a huge multiplier effect. Matt, this is just a question. As a person who doesn't know what I'm talking about, is there any reason to invest in the smaller miners when the treasuries seem to be no-brainers for current and long term? So, Matt, in the smaller miners, so I think there's upside. Like, it really depends on which company you like. Just understand which miners you like, and of course, you gotta, understand the leadership, right? Are they telling a compelling story? Do they have an outlook towards the future in terms of growth? It is a competitive market. So, Dr. Mario, so we have Mario Defino. So, thanks for joining, Doc. How do you allocate your money percent wise since there are several miners? Excellent question. Excellent question. So, Dr. Mario, really just depends on your risk tolerance. Some people like going all in on one. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Some people like to, diversify a bit. That's fine. It's really hard to say, but just know what your risk tolerance is. All I'm going to say is for the miners, because we've had underperforming year in 2024, I'm bullish in an outperforming year in 2025. Again, miners tend to have that inverse relationship, year over year. So it's not considered like a long-term investment. It's considered riding those waves up top and then taking profits until you find those right price points to get back in. But when you invest in like, treasury companies like MSTR, that's like, it's going to start trending up. So that's what we should look at. So Steve Byron, BMNR, we will be covering that just as well. So I've been battling with this idea for almost all this year. I love Mara, Riot, and Iron, but the numbers behind MSTR and BMR just make it so confusing. Mara just feels so stiff, even though they have 51,000 coins. So Matt, right now, Wall Street has created fear in companies like Mara, right? I mean, Mara has 50,000 Bitcoin, but then why is the share price at the current price? And this is all attributed to, because executives are getting paid left and right. But just watch, once Bitcoin price starts going up, these tickers will shoot up significantly. And I've seen it happen, so I wouldn't be surprised that it happens again. And where there's huge pullbacks like this with Clean Spark, now it's touching that support line at $10. Let's just let's just appreciate how much Clean Spark has improved. I mean, back in April, during all that tariff news, I mean, this thing dropped down to $6. So it's climbed all the way up from $6 to like, close to $14. So that's gone up like, 1.5x. That's a huge um, appreciation. So with that getting up to like close to $14, the technicals overbought. It needs to take a stable cool off on the RSI. But think about it this way. Now we have the current price now at the support level, in the double digit support level. Before we were like at $6. So now we flipped the resistance now to support. This is going to create that base for that level 2 where we're going to get to $18. I think we're going to get to $18 sometime, whether it's this month, it's possible, may not be likely, but I really do think August, September is the month for CleanSpark to have that run up. All right, let's continue. All right, Riot platform. So same deal, whether you're invested in CleanSpark, Riot, or MAR, or even miners, they all have the same type of, you know, um, outlook. I mean, you see this, right? You got the inverse head and shoulder, left shoulder, the head, right shoulder. What does that mean? It's building a base. It recently got to like 15. RSI overbought 78, took a huge pullback to like 38 now. But what does that mean? Now there's going to be a lot more buying inflows. And as Bitcoin price starts shooting up, this puppy is going to shoot up. I really think in this month, September, we're looking at like $20 as well. All right. So Matt, so Katie, don't worry. Things are gonna look good. So Matt, I have pretty evenly distributed exposure to the miners. I've been really wrestling the idea of consolidating. So Dr. Mario, I would say, as for me, there's different miners out there that do like AI, Bitcoin as well. But I like the companies that actually have a Bitcoin HODL. Why is that the case? Because I believe in the use case with Bitcoin. I believe that Bitcoin price will go up in the long term, and once Bitcoin price goes up, the market cap for these companies will also go up as well, and that will make these companies more favorable in the long term. Eventually, everyone's going to try to stack as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. So these miners are ahead of the game compared to all the other small miners. So looking at Mara took a huge pullback as well, right? July, 14, $21. We thought things were gonna, reverse, but it went back down to 15. But here's the thing. We see higher lows established, right? Things can't just shoot up on one straight line. I really think we're gonna see this, this reversal pattern. August, September. I'm very bullish. Mara's gonna get to $23, and as we look at the rest of 2025, Bitcoin to 200,000, that use case definitely changes as well, right? All right, so let's pivot over to Ethereum treasury companies. So let's say even if you're not invested in Ethereum treasury companies, monitor it, study it, right? Ethereum is here to stay in addition to Bitcoin. We know Bitcoin is the mother coin, but it's important to see where all the money inflows are. Consider you know, taking a hedge towards Ethereum treasury companies as well. The excitement is there, so why not, right? So I was, having bullish forecasts when BMNR before this breakout as well, because I saw this consolidation levels. I mean, it was overbought, 95 RSI. It cooled off. Kathy Woods bought in. That got my attention. Kathy Woods, ARK investment. She knows where the money is. And what has happened since? $28 support. it shot up to like 51, right? We've seen this thing run up to like 160. So I really do think that my use case before this run up was $77, but I've upped the target to like 87. BMNR has potential to grow significantly, just given the fact that Ethereum has shown its proof of stake concept, and there's been a lot more buying. BlackRock has been buying Ethereum. They created, IBIT, Bitcoin ETF. They also created, ETHA, and there's been huge inflows into that as well, which I highly recommend looking into as well. But I wouldn't be surprised in the upcoming weeks, BMNR to 87, and I wouldn't be surprised if it even breaks through the $100 range as Ethereum, gets to like 7,800 in this year. Another Ethereum Treasury company that I would, monitor. I actually, bought into SBET as well. Took some slight profits on BMNR. I still hold BMNR, but I allocated a little into SBET as well. I'm thinking about opening some call options of SBET starting tomorrow. We will see. This thing ran up to like $40 from like $8. Had a pullback. Since then, it held at like 17. It's climbing up to 24 with Ethereum climbing up. I really do see the upside to like $50 on the near term course as we see relative strength beginning to trend back up. So just be on the lookout. I think there's upside with SBET as well. Definitely could reach its prior resistance of 40, but 50 is definitely well achievable as well. So SBET is definitely another company not to ignore. So Troy, BMNR is lit. Oh yes, BMNR is definitely lit. We got Tom Lee, right? Tom Lee is, huge. All right, so just because it's Katie asking, I'm gonna, pull that up. So give me one moment. Let me pull up game since we got folks who want to get some insights on game. Oh yes. So I already have my assessment on game here. So I bought in game when it was like I think it was like 130, 140. So my cost average is high. So buying in right now is definitely a win-win situation. RSI July 9th overbought. Now RSI is stabilized 44. It's been a month out. So we've seen it slide down in terms of RSI. So game, I think the risk is much lower buying now than like weeks before, right? So I bought before, I bought at higher cost average. So buying right now is definitely lower risk than buying in before. The support has established ground. So, I don't think it's going to get down to like these levels of like 78, given the fact that Ethereum has just broken out. But how high can it go? I mean, it really depends on what your goal is. Um, I understand, Matt. I definitely understand. I've been through that as well. Um, there's pros and cons to that, right? You invest in the top line ETH company. It has the volume and all that, but sometimes the lower end ones have huge multipliers, unexpected. But then again, the volatility can be much higher. Uh, but when you can time it right, these things can just pop. So I really do think game has extreme upside. Who knows where it can go, but I wouldn't be surprised if it reaches its power resistance. I would bring it to like 250 is that potential upside on the near term. So that's my overall assessment of game. I hope it goes up so we all can win. Next up, BTBT, another ETH Treasury company. In fact, they were a Bitcoin miner, but they pivoted. Now they're full on scale Ethereum Treasury, similar to SBET, BMNR, like Tom Lee. The CEO is Sam Tabar. I mean, when you look at this, just look at how many pullbacks there were. You got one pullback, two pullback, three pullback. What does that mean? Oh man, you're gonna see that, that upward trajectory. BTBT market, I think it's gonna get to $6 in the next couple weeks, sooner rather than later. I think there's gonna be a huge upside. So Katie, my cost average is somewhere around yours too. So we're in it to win it. I have a small amount in it, so I'm not too worried. But definitely BTBT is looking good as well. They have huge volatility, but it continues to trend up with higher lows. Be on the lookout for a squeeze. All right, let's continue. All right, so here's the stock that I keep just scratching my head on. It's like I continue to see it going up. It reminds me of Palantir, and I think Robinhood is like one of the best, apps out there when it comes to like trading stocks, crypto. You know, I wish I had known about Robinhood user interface much earlier, but ever since using Robinhood, I mean, I can't even look at any other uh, account to trade on. Robinhood user interface is so good, and this is why their stock has been just dominating. Market cap just reached over 100 billion in market cap. In fact, they bypassed Coinbase in market cap. So they're not one dimensional like Coinbase, where they just have crypto. They have stocks and crypto. So I think the use case for Robinhood, they may get into the S&P 500. There's stories that they may get into S&P 500 by next week. So just think about that. And I think 2025, we may very well get to $200 per share with Robinhood. All right. So that's, be on the lookout for Robinhood. I'm sure we all know how well they're doing. But here's the hot play that I think has huge upside as well. All right. So Galaxy. Not much people are talking about Galaxy the last couple of weeks, but you know what? At $27, this is a major steal. I think we're going to get to $140 by Q1 of 2026. Mark this. Galaxy, we heard about that big whale selling $9 billion worth of Bitcoin. That was through the Galaxy exchange. They also hold Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin. They also have partnership with CoreWeave. They're focused on AI data centers. This is a high quality stock. Again, do your research. I'm hedged on Galaxy as well. I believe in their use case. I think they're going to be headed to, to like the levels that the Robinhood is at. So this might be the next Robinhood Palantir type play. So be on the lookout for Galaxy, especially with the Genius Bill Act being signed. Oh yes, the casino. When you go to the casino, you're either gonna, bring home money or donate your money to the casino. It's like 100% win or 100% loss. But with stocks, even if you have a down day, patience is in your favor. Again, stocks can go down over time, but through patience, you'll have a pop back up. So it's much different than like the casino or even sports betting. BitDeer. So BitDeer is another miner not much people are talking about. I actually, bought BitDeer like a couple weeks back. Why? Because I think they're undervalued. I mean, BitDeer back in January, they were like $27. $27. Where it is right now, that's like 60% discount from that run up top. It's only going to be a matter of time where the price is going to shoot up. I think, probability for it to get to $20 in the next couple weeks or months 70% opportunity, which is why I think BitDeer is undervalued, and they make the seal miners. That's like top line technology for mining as well. So I think BitDeer is definitely undervalued, which is huge upside. DJT. So no one's talking about DJT, but why do I like this? I'm I'm considering buying more DJT starting tomorrow as well. I think that it's extremely undervalued. It's at that oversold situation. I mean, when you look at the prior resistance back in October, $55, January, $44, and May timeframe, this was $27. This is where you buy when there's blood on the streets. So if you want to take a hedge right now, this is the opportunity to capitalize, buy low, buy when there's blood on the streets. Why? Because I think that we're going to get to $27 very soon with DJT stock. Risk is low, RSI is at oversold. This is your opportunity to capitalize. Thank me later. I'm bullish on DJT, and I'm going to be opening up more positions starting tomorrow with DJT. Ethereum, we all hear about Ethereum, but you know what? I think Ethereum's going to get to like 7,800. I mean, their all-time high was like 4,800 back in 2021. Well, we're like 10% away from breaking through the all-time high, and then after that, we're going to be climbing up to 7,000 plus in 2025 with Ethereum. All right, so that is pretty much all I wanted to cover. So I hope that you all found this content valuable. Look at Bitcoin. It's doing its thing right now, over 119,000. In the next hour, we're going to see, stocks that are hedging Bitcoin, Ethereum have a nice green overnight trading. I hope you all are bullish. We all should be bullish because once the bull market, goes away, that's where things can be different. But now is the time to make money. We'll make money, and we'll share our stories together. All right. So let me know if there's any questions or comments that you have. So the show starts at, I would say, because I think the best, not to rush it. I think 3:30 is like ideal for me. So I hope that that's a reasonable time. 3:30, no later than like 4 o'clock. It may be at 4 o'clock sometimes, but I'd say somewhere around 3:30 to 4. At times it might be, I'd say 3:15 to 4 o'clock would be that buffer time. All right. Well, any other questions from anyone? Any requests you guys have? Bitcoin right now at 118,900. SoFi, I keep seeing it go up. I mean, SoFi has been just very bullish. I mean, the first thing I think about with SoFi is the LA Rams Stadium, right? I mean, it's kind of like, you know, LA Lakers, their stadium is crypto.com, right? So crypto is here to stay, right? I mean, they had that name for so long, and had we known, crypto just keeps going up. So SoFi Stadium, I mean, if a company's name is for a football stadium, you know that eventually SoFi is going to be going up over time. CEP, oh yes. So I mean, Jack Mallers, he's going to be his stock is doing very well. XXI CEP. I'm bullish on that as well. Anthony, are you talking about Anthony Popliano or Anthony Noto? Who is that? So ASST, let's pull that up. I'm not familiar with that one. Asset entities. Wow, so this thing shot up from like 60 cents. What's ASST all about? Oh, Anthony Noto is the man. Kevin from Forsaken. Hey man, thanks for joining. You missed out on the fun, Kevin. I mean, getting close to that 1 hour mark. Um, but of course, you could watch the event again by just rewinding back. Um, but SoFi, I think, has potential. I mean, kind of reminds me of Palantir. Of course, Palantir with the defense partnership with the government. SoFi. Oh, that's great, Kevin. The gym is always important, man. And I highly recommend everyone. Let's say if you're not used to exercising, whether it's health, fitness, cardio, consider making an investment in your health through just working on your fitness goal journey as well. So not only am I focused on stocks, crypto, and all that, I'm a big time advocate with health and fitness. So let me know if you ever need support with any, guidance when it comes to fitness goals. I could definitely lead you in the right path as well. I'm actually going to Vietnam in October, November. Vietnam and Korea. So Matt, another company that pledged billions to buy Bitcoin and give Bitcoin back loans. I think it's Vivek. Oh, Vivek. Oh my goodness. When they announced they ran from 60 cents all the way to $12 and now it bounces from $3 to $5. Huge. I will monitor that. ASST. Can you buy ASST on Robinhood? All right, guys. Well, I got to cut it short. Thanks, CJ. Thanks, Matt, for that. Dogecoin, of course I do. But also be on the lookout for BTOG. If you like Dogecoin, they're the first Bitcoin treasury company. Dogecoin runs, BTOG will run as well. So I hope you guys all enjoyed the live stream. And JG watching in the background. Thank you, JG. Appreciate you. Appreciate you all joining. Katie for the continuous support. Um, Definitely, we'll continue this live session again next Sunday. Thank you all for bringing all the questions and ideas. ASST. I'm learning from all of you as well. So appreciate all the information sharing and the engagement from everyone watching. So um, hope you guys all have a great rest of your Sunday. And we got Kevin, Steve Giles, Daniel, Abel, everyone joining. Appreciate all the dialogue. Um, Give me a follow on X, on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the like, share it with your network. I really appreciate you all. Have a great Sunday. Take care, guys.